Finnish, Mandarin Chinese, Arabic, Hungarian, and Japanese are the hardest languages to learn, right? Well, what if I told you that they're easier than you think? Hello, welcome to the Polyglot Files. My name is Michael, and today we're doing a video about the hardest languages to learn. But instead of talking about what makes these languages hard to learn, I want to explore what makes these languages easy to learn, if anything. Because a language's difficulty is in the eye of the beholder. Or should I say, ear of the beholder. Anyway, let's start with Finnish. Maybe you've heard that our first language, Finnish, is one of the most grammatically complex languages due to its noun cases. If you don't know what a noun case is, it is basically how a noun, a person, place, or a thing changes its form depending on its function in a sentence. It may be hard to imagine just how many functions a noun could have in a sentence, but Finnish has determined that there are 15. For example, the picture on the screen right now shows the word house in 14 of the cases. You can see how the word changes depending on if it is the direct object, indirect object, and so on and so forth. Despite this, Finnish may not be as difficult as you may think. First of all, Finnish is written with the Latin alphabet. That means that if you already speak another language that uses a Latin alphabet, like English, Italian, or German, then you've already taken the first crucial step to becoming literate in Finnish. You know the letters. Secondly, Finnish is a phonetic language. This means that the words are pronounced almost exactly as they are written. This is in contrast to a language like English, where one letter can have multiple different sounds and sound combinations. Finnish also doesn't have any grammatical gender. This means that there's no masculine nouns, feminine nouns, or neuter nouns. Lastly, despite having quite an extensive noun case system, Finnish is a relatively regular language. This means that once you've learned a grammatical rule in Finnish, you can pretty much apply it to everything, and there aren't so many exceptions. Perhaps you've heard that you need to memorize 3,000 to 4,000 separate Chinese characters in order to read a text in Mandarin Chinese. Add in the 4 tones that, if used incorrectly, can seriously mess up your ability to speak in the language. While those two things may be true, the rest of learning Mandarin Chinese is comparatively simple. In fact, Mandarin Chinese boasts one of the simplest grammatical systems of any language. For starters, Mandarin Chinese has no grammatical gender, so no masculine, feminine, or neuter. It has no grammatical noun case. It has no plural forms, and it has no verb conjugations. Further, word building in Mandarin Chinese is relatively logical. Once you have a mastery of root words, learning how to construct and understand complex words is pretty easy. Take, for example, the word for computer.
电脑
It literally means electric brain, where
电
means electricity and
脑
means brain. Lastly, Mandarin Chinese pronunciation is relatively simple and regular. Mandarin Chinese follows the same basic syllable structure: an initial consonant followed by a vowel and sometimes a final consonant. Compare this to the English word strengths, which starts and ends with 3 distinct consonant sounds, and we can appreciate how beautiful a simple syllable structure can be. So, Mandarin Chinese may not be as difficult as you think it is, but the best way to learn any difficult language, Mandarin Chinese included, is to have actual conversations. For that, I recommend Talk to Me, the sponsor of today's video. With Talk to Me, I got comfortable expressing myself in creative conversation missions. Think chatting with a taxi driver, making friends at a cafe, or the one I just finished in Spanish where I attended a garage sale to furnish my new hypothetical apartment. These real-life challenges got me really using the language, but without the fear of messing up with a real person. And if I did get stuck, Talk to Me's native AI teacher was able to answer my questions and keep the conversation going. The best part? The Talk to Me team is always adding new community requested features. Things like Mad Libs-esque stories, a game where you describe hilarious, weird AI-generated images, and a robust vocabulary study system. If you're currently learning French, Spanish, Mandarin Chinese, Italian, or Vietnamese, click on the link in the description to download the app today. Arabic is a language with many dialects all over the Arab world, and its standard form, Modern Standard Arabic, is only used in official media and religious contexts. This means that a learner has to specialize in another dialect of Arabic in addition to Modern Standard Arabic in order to understand a given Arabic speaker. Couple this with a writing system that doesn't explicitly spell out vowels, and you may wonder how anybody is able to become fluent in Arabic. So what makes Arabic easy, you may ask? Well, much of Arabic's vocabulary is derived from root words and stems. For example, if you know the word kitab, book, you can easily learn dozens of related words from this stem, such as kitaba, he wrote, katib, writer, maktab, desk, maktaba, library, aktubu, I write, and many more. Further, Arabic grammar is pretty easy to learn as well. Yes, there are noun cases like German and grammatical gender, but conjugating verbs in Arabic is pretty easy once you learn the pattern, and there aren't that many exceptions to existing grammar rules. Hungarian is a Uralic language related to Finnish, so it's no wonder it has a reputation for being a difficult language to learn. In fact, Hungarian boasts 18 noun cases, 3 more than Finnish. Not that it should be a competition, as well as agglutinative grammar. Agglutinative isn't just a difficult word for me to say, it is also a complicated system of grammar where suffixes can be added to root words to modify meanings in some way. For example, this image shows some of the suffixes that can be added to the root word for son or boy in Hungarian. You can see that the level of particularity needed to use the appropriate suffix can be quite overwhelming for English speakers. Conversely, Hungarian makes up for this agglutination by having relatively simpler aspects of the language. Namely, there is no grammatical gender in Hungarian, and there are only 3 verb tenses to learn. Hungarian is also a fairly phonetic language. 1 letter generally equals 1 sound, and even though there are 18 noun cases, they really aren't that hard to comprehend and use. In fact, many of the Hungarian cases are formed just by adding the preposition to the end of the word. For example, to say in Budapest, you simply add the preposition in to the end of the word. Budapestin. Can you imagine a language that has 3 separate writing systems and uses all 3 of these writing systems almost simultaneously? No need to imagine. Welcome to Japanese. To learn to read and write Japanese, you need to learn 2 syllabaries, hiragana and katakana, as well as kanji, the over 2,000 Chinese characters that have been borrowed into Japanese. Couple this with a complex honorifics and politeness system, and Japanese seems like a nightmare to learn. I say this mostly in jest. I think Japanese is really cool, and I've attempted it a couple times. Unsuccessfully. So, what makes Japanese easy to learn? Well, for starters, it is not tonal, which makes it kind of an outlier among the other languages of East Asia, like Mandarin Chinese and Thai. Secondly, Japanese has no noun gender, no noun cases, and only 2 verb tenses. Lastly, Japanese is similar to Mandarin Chinese in the sense that root words are used as the basis for creating complex words. For example, the word for February, nigatsu, is simply the kanji for the word to and the kanji for the word month, denoting that February is the 2nd month of the year. So there you have it, 5 difficult languages that may have some redeeming qualities. and may not be so difficult after all. Do you have any experience learning any of these difficult languages? Leave me a comment below. I'd love to know your personal experience. You can also follow me on Facebook, X, TikTok, and Instagram. And don't forget to like and subscribe. As usual, thank you for watching the Polyglot Files, and I will see you next time. Goodbye!